In this video segment, we're going to be looking into the acoustic strings, how I go about processing them, and different ways you can do the panning. It can be a traditional orchestral setup or really anything that sounds good in your mix to give it the clarity you desire. We will look into that later in this video. This acoustic setup consists of a few different players tripling and doubling their parts. You see here violin 1, violin 1B, violin 1C. Then it goes to violin 2A, violin 2B, then down to the viola 1, viola 2, viola 3, another 3 viola parts. Then scroll down a little more to the cellos. We have cello 1 with the Shep microphone, another cello 1 with an 87, 2 mics on each cello, cello 1, 2 Sheps, cello 2 with an 87, then cello 3 with a Shep, and cello 3 with an 87. So there's 2 microphones on each cello, and there's 3 cellos. This gives it a nice orchestral sound, only with a few people. Let's get into now looking at the panning and different ways you can go about doing this. We can look at it in the traditional sense as you look at the orchestra going from left to right, or we can set it up, say, like in a pop tune with the doubles split left and right. There's really endless possibilities. Let's see what they sound like in the track. These 2 tracks here are an addition, I believe it's a higher octave. Let's see what it is. Let's go ahead and solo these. Really nice sounding string section. And you can see here that I have these all bussed to a master aux track. So I can process all of the parts together with a few plugins. I have the SSL EQ here, a little bit of high end, and my other plugin, this harmonic enhancer. I love using these kind of plugins. It's not an EQ, it's an enhancer that accentuates the harmonics in the instrument. Works really well on acoustic stringed instruments, even vocals too. As you can see, it's a drastic difference when I take it in and out. Really nice, silky sounding high end. Love what it does to the violins. You can actually hear the bows and the rosin on the bow itself. Very cool. Let me bypass this now and move on to look at the individual tracks. I'm not really processing them at all, except for a little bit on the cellos, a little bit of extra warmth. Let's now move on to the panning of these violins, violas, and cellos. It could be crucial. I have them set up in this mix. I'm splitting them pretty much left and right from the first parts to the second parts to the third parts, with a few panned in a little bit. This is not a traditional orchestral setup panning, as you would see if you're looking out onto an orchestra. I have a little template here that I keep on my desktop to remind me of the orchestral setup, a true classical setup. And here it is. You have first violins, left harp, percussion, basses, timpanis, bones, violas, and violins and cellos on the right. So it's really high to low from the conductor's viewpoint. Now, I don't have this mix set up like this because I didn't have a whole orchestra playing together. But when you do record a whole orchestra together, it's crucial you keep the panning as they were sitting in the room, or you're going to run into a lot of phasing problems. And as I mentioned before, this piece was recorded by only a few people. It wasn't a traditional orchestra all played at once. So you can pan things where you want them. Let's see how I have this session set up. I have violins from left to right panned in a little bit. Violin 1s. Then violin 2, I have them going from left to center, gradually a little more towards the center. Violin 2 would be about there, and then go down to the cellos, and I'm going to move those over to the right. Basically, a high to low spread from left to right. As you can see, cello, move that cello over, that one's over 100%. Let's see what it sounds like. And you can hear how it separates the highs on the left and the lows on the right. Gives it a nice stereo spread. Let's hear it in the track. So there you have it. It sounds really good in the track. You can hear the highs on the left and the lows on the right playing off each other. And it's really personal preference from the producer and the engineer how they want to have the panning in the mix. I really like the enhancer, though. It makes an enormous difference. This Universal Audio harmonic enhancer, I have it set to about 7K. Really brings out the high end in the strings without EQing them and without overpowering everything else. I'm going to play this in the track and bypass the enhancer one more time so you can hear what it does. So you can hear the difference in and out, even in the track. It just sits on top of everything really nice with that nice silky sheen. So that's about it for mixing strings in this track. You should never try to EQ strings that much if they're recorded well. There's really no reason for it. Really try to use the panning and something like this enhancer before you go grabbing an EQ. So that's about it for this video segment, Acoustic Strings. Let's move on to the next one. Thanks a lot for listening.